Hello friends! I'm Amy and this is Miriam, and we just wanted to come on here and explain how we got to working at the International Christian School of Budapest for the next school year. I am going to be the second grade teacher at ICSB.
And I'm going to be the high school academic counselor.
Yeah, and it's kind of a crazy story, and it intertwines really in a cool way, so we wanted to share that with you.
Yes. So the story begins for me in July of 2019. I was at the point in my life where I had been a barista, worked at a bakery, and I have a degree in social work and wasn't really using it. And so I was like, I'm single, I'm just gonna go backpack around Europe, and God had other plans. So in July 2019, I went to Dallas, Texas to visit my friend, and I went to her church. Before the sermon, we did prayers with people there at the church, and I asked them to pray for my future path. And then the pastor preached on Luke 10, 1 through 12, I think. But it was the first 5 passages that really stood out to me. It's when Jesus sends out the 72 disciples. He sends them 2 by 2, tells them the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And that verse became very significant for me, and eventually Amy, into this whole journey. So it's been basically a year. This is July 2020 now that we're in. And so that spark turned into me looking into doing ministry in Europe, because I felt like from that verse that was what I was supposed to do. And so I came home from Texas like, okay, where do I go? And was looking up all the things, and really felt like I was like, I have no direction, but I found a cheap plane ticket to London for one way. Through that, I reconnected with an organization that I had served with in the past in Romania. And that organization is called Word Made Flesh. And so I got connected to them and got started on a servant team that was supposed to be for this summer. Due to COVID, that got not canceled, but moved. So
postponed.
Actually, we will be going on that trip the following summer in 2021. But anyway, so I started that trip and then realized I do not want to do this by myself. So I focused on in Luke 10, where Jesus sent out the 72 disciples 2 by 2. And so I was praying for 3 months, like, God, please make this happen. And meanwhile, I was asking people at church in my young adults group. I asked Amy kind of offhand once, and I'll let her continue to share that story.
Yeah, so in November 2019, I started going to church with Miriam and another roommate, because the church that I was at, I didn't have a community and I just wanted to be around my friends. And so the first sermon that I went to was a pastor visiting from Myanmar, which our church partners with a church there in Myanmar. And so this pastor came and preached on Luke 10, 1 through 3, and sending of the 72, go out in pairs, the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. And I was sitting next to Miriam and I went, that's so cute that I'm like eavesdropping on your message again. That's so much fun. And I had a little bit of a tugging on my heart, but I was like, there's no way that's for me. No. And so I just kind of passed it off. The following week, I went to church with another friend to watch their baby get dedicated. And they had a missionary family visiting from South America, and they preached on Luke 10, 1 through 3. And Miriam wasn't there for me to say, oh gosh, I'm just eavesdropping again. But instead I stopped and I thought, am I supposed to go and serve abroad? And at this point, like Miriam said, she was connected with Word Made Flesh in Romania. And so I said, I think I'm supposed to go to Romania with you. Let's look for me going over the summer, and then I'll come back to the States to teach in September. So we talked to the head of Word Made Flesh, and he asked us to go from August to September. And at that point, I said, I will have to quit my job.
Yeah.
My teaching job, yes. And because I teach first grade. And I was like, okay, I'll serve until September. Sure. So signed up for that trip with Romania. Soon after that, maybe the same day, I went to dinner with my friend and an old professor from George Fox. I told them about my opportunity in Romania. I told them that I'm going to have to quit my job in order to serve for the full term while we're there. And I was like, but I don't know what I'm going to do when I come back. School have already started. And they both looked at me and said, have you ever thought about teaching abroad? And this friend had student taught at the International Christian School of Budapest. And she said, Amy, Hungary and Romania are right next to each other. You could just cross the border and go and teach for the year in Hungary. And I thought, that's crazy. But yeah, get me connected to the principal. Let's see what happens.
Right.
And so I got connected. They offered me to do an interview. I interviewed. They offered me a job that week. And I said, okay, I'll be a teacher at ICSB. When I heard about ICSB, I went home to Miriam and I said, we're going to be working at the International Christian School of Budapest next year. Like right after Romania, this is where we're going to go. And Miriam.
Yeah. I was like, no, like I've never worked in a school before and I don't like being told what I'm going to do with my life, especially when I've been working so hard to find purpose for myself and my identity. And so that was something where I got defensive and was like, no, I'm going to find what I'm doing. I still want to go with you to Budapest because I had felt like called to do more long-term work. I looked for any way possible to be able to be in Budapest, Hungary. So I looked into going to grad school without really having a reason to go to grad school. I reached out to all the English-speaking churches to see if I could get an internship. Like literally anything, and nothing was coming through. And finally Amy, after like 2 months I think of me looking, she came back to me and was like, you should look at the school, like they're very willing to be flexible. So I looked, and one of the positions that was available was the high school academic counselor, and I actually felt this like little stirring in me of like, oh, I could see myself doing that because I've never seen myself working with groups of kids. I'm like, no, classroom management is not my desire or forte. And so high school academic counselor, I was actually excited about. And I interviewed for it thinking that they would tell me no. And instead, a week later, they came back to me with a yes. And that was incredible. And from that point, we just hit the ground running. We were told that we needed to have a mission sending agency, which we have not been in the world of missionaries and did not really understand the whole thing. We were like, we just got a job with you. Like, doesn't this...
Yeah.
Isn't that it? And realizing we did know that we were going to be fully support raising our salaries for the position, and realized that it's through the sending agency that you do that.
So I reached out to a few different sending agencies. One of them I reached out to, they got back to me right away and said, no, you don't have enough time to fundraise. This was at March, during March at this point, March 2020. And so they said, you don't have enough time to fundraise by September. There's no way. And TeachBeyond said, oh yeah, you have tons of time. Come on in, we'd love to have you. So I got connected and interviewed. Miriam did the same thing. We both got accepted by TeachBeyond as well. It was awesome and so great. And they had such great questions, and they really got to know us before they hired us, which I loved that. That was so great. Yeah, we have been working really hard on getting all of our paperwork in, working on classes, doing orientation, meeting people all over the world, support raising, which is new for both of us. And so that has been a humbling experience as well.
So if you are feeling called to join us in ministry, we would love to connect with you further. We are putting this out just to share our story, but if this inspires you to walk with us in this, we would be so honored to have you as a teammate. We're looking for ministry partners to enter into this in prayer as well as financial support, because that's a reality of what we're doing. And what we've learned through the process is that that is biblical. And if you look at the Levites in the tribe of Levites of the Israelites, they were set aside to do the Lord's work without being guaranteed an inheritance. And they took care of the sacrifices, worked in the temple, and, you know, honored God in that way, trusting that he was going to provide for them. And so that's what we have entered into, is this really radical trust that God's going to provide, and he already has in so many ways. We have an incredible 3-bedroom house with a dog waiting for us in Budapest, Hungary, where we're really excited to be able to host people, visiting missionaries and friends and family once COVID is over.
Yes, yeah.
But God has just shown his provision and fulfilling his promises through this whole thing, and we would love to be able to share with you all of those things in this process.
So to wrap up, Miriam and I have the amazing opportunity to serve as the high school academic counselor and the second grade teacher at the International Christian School of Budapest. We get to go with an amazing mission organization called TeachBeyond, which exists to provide transformational education services to children all over the world. They have over 900 candidates right now serving in different schools, different English camps, all sorts of different stuff. It is absolutely amazing. And lastly, we are support raising our salaries. If you feel called to join us on this mission, please do. That can be in prayer, it can be by finances. We want to just be your friend. We want to share this amazing opportunity that God has placed in our lives. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out on all of our socials that exist, because there are many. But we love you so much. We're so thankful that we get an opportunity to share our story with all of you.
Yes.
And we hope that you share our story with others as well.
Yeah, please do.
Bye!